Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to do a review of your review sheet. So the first question says, for which values of x rounded to the nearest hundredth will absolute value of x squared minus 9 minus 3 equal log base 3 of x. So basically, because this is an absolute value right here and a log base, you cannot solve this algebraically. You're going to have to do it graphically. So what you're going to do is you're going to put this into y1, this side into y1, and this side into y2. Okay, and then you're going to look at the graph. So when you do that, you're going to end up getting a graph that looks somewhat like this. Wow, that's pretty bad. Okay, something like this. And then you're going to get the other one that crosses about here. Okay, and you're going to need to get the x values. And what you're going to do is do the second intersect command, second intersect. You're going to bring the blinky dot really close to the intersection, press enter 3 times, and then press enter 3 times for the other one, and you're going to end up getting choice 1. Next one is factoring by grouping. There are 4 terms, so that's why it's grouping. You're going to split this down the middle. You're going to get x squared come out of here. X plus 3 is left over. Here you're going to have to pull out a negative 4 y squared. You get x plus 3 as well. There's a 4 in both of these and a negative and also a y in both of these. So then you're going to end up getting x squared minus 4y squared and then x plus 3. And then you're going to continue factoring by dots. This is dots. You're going to do x plus 2y and x minus 2y and then x plus 3. And that's your final answer. Okay, so for the next question, hold on. It says find the inverse of, let me just move this. Where is this question? Oh. Find the inverse of this guy. So you're going to have to make this y, if I can just write on this, make this y, and then you're going to switch the x and the y. Okay, and you're going to put this over 1 and cross multiply. So you end up getting y equals x times y minus 3. And you can distribute this in to get xy minus 3x equals y. In order to solve this, you're going to want to group all the y's to one side and everything else to the other. Get y minus xy equals negative 3x. And because there are 2 y's on this side, what you're going to do is use GCF, and you're going to factor out a y and pull that out to the side and be left with 1 minus x. This cancels to 1. Now you're going to divide by 1 minus x, and you'll end up getting y equals negative 3x over 1 minus x. If you want to make sure that, oh, also we're going to label this f negative 1 of x. Okay, so let me just make that a little neater. If you want to check yourself, what I was getting at was that what you can do is find an x value and plug it in for the original. Whatever you get out, you're going to plug it into this guy, and then you should get out what you put in before. What's the inverse of log 3 base 3 of x? Remember, inverse means to switch your x and the y, so you can do it long ways. And then remember, low to solo, 3 to the x equals y, because you have to solve for the y, so you need to get rid of that log. The only way you can do it is change it into exponential form. So the answer would be y equals 3 to the x. You really don't have to memorize much. If you just take away the log, you'll find the inverse. If you look at it like this, y 3 to the x. This guy here, literally just plug this into your calculator. If you press math and then scroll up to log base, you're going to see log and then like a little box here and another thing here, and you're going to put in 7 and 15, and then you're going to end up getting 1.392 if you round correctly. This guy here is a radical equation, so square both sides is your first step. I can square both sides with this one because the radical is by itself. I'm going to get x squared minus 56x minus 8. Over here, you have to write this out twice, and you have to do box method. There is no way around this. You have to do it that way. You cannot distribute the squared. So quick box method here, 9x squared minus 12x, and then positive 16. Combine your like terms, which is the diagonal, and you're going to get 24x equals this guy. 56x minus 8. Now remember, x squared likes to be positive and equal to 0, so we're going to bring all these guys over. That'll cancel. Cancel. 0 equals 8x squared plus 32x plus 24. Now, if you notice, you can actually take a GCF out of 8, which will make your life much easier. And you'll be left with 4x plus 3. Try AM. You're going to bring this down, x plus 3. Factors of 3 that add to 4 are 3 and 1. And you're solve for x. X equals negative 3. X equals negative 1. Okay, this is not an answer. Don't even look at the 8. The 8 is just like creating like the scale of the polynomial to be bigger if you were to graph it. This means nothing, so please ignore it. We're not factoring, we're solving, so we don't need that. The 8 does not have an x next to it, so it's not necessary to be there. All right, so now we're going to check our answers, and the best way to check is to either plug in or use y1 and 2 and look at the table. And when you look at the table, these both don't work, so it's going to be no solution. Or you can do the little bracket things here. All right, find the directrix of the parabola. So first off, you need the vertex. So the vertex for this particular parabola is -1, -3. Okay, the x is from the x part and the y is from the y part, and you will change your signs. Then what you need is your a value. To find your a value, remember the formula has 4a right here. Okay, so that being said, because 4a is right there, you'll be able to find your a value. Okay, so you're going to do 4a equals 12, divide by 4, you'll find a is 3. The next thing you'll need is finding out how it opens. So this one's a little bit different than what we've been doing. If you notice, the y is squared, and because the y is squared, this means that it's going to open left or right, and because the 12 is positive, this is going to open right. You don't usually get a lot of left and right parabolas, but I gave one to you here. It's very rare, but again, this happens when y is squared. So I'm going to plot -1, -3, 1, 2, 3. There's my vertex. I'm going to open up to the right, and I'm going to count 3 for we want directrix, so I only need to go this way. 1, 2, 3. This is my directrix. And they want the equations. This is through 1, 2, 3, 4. So the answer is x equals -4. When you go vertical, it's x equals, and when you go horizontal, it is y equals. Is that it for this page? Yep. Okay, number 8. So for number 8, you're just going to do your calculator. You're going to use second matrix. You're going to press the button second, then press the button matrix. Then you're going to scroll over to math, and you're going to choose R, R, E, F, and then you're going to press alpha and zoom. That's your calculator steps for this. You're going to plug in your coefficients: 1, 1, -1, 6, 2, -3, 2, -19, -1, 4, -1, 17. Very important that you're using the negative sign and not the minus sign. They want the one that's not in the system. When you get this out, you're going to get x equals -1, y equals 3, and z equals -4 in the calculator, and you'll find out that 2 is not an answer, so that's the answer they want here. So they're telling you in this question, if x minus 1 is a factor of this, what's the value of k? If you notice, there's a missing piece here. So it's very easy to do this question. All you have to do is remember that if x minus 1 is a factor, then x equals 1 is a x value when y equals 0. The coordinate pair would be 1, 0 in this case because of the remainder theorem. When you plug in this x value, you should get 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this thing equal to 0 and plug in 1. So I'm going to replace all the x's with 1s and then set it equal to 0. We can do this because we know that x minus 1 is a factor. 1 minus k, because 1 squared is 1, plus 2 equals 0. You're going to get 3 minus k equals 0. Solve for k. It's probably easier just to add the k over because it needs to be positive. So k equals 3, and that's our answer here. Next question, express this in a plus bi simplest form. Just use your calculator with this. You can literally type in the powers of I. Type in I to the 6 with your calculator. So second decimal, I to the 6, the I is with the decimal. When you type that in, you're going to find out that I is equivalent to -1. Plus 3y, type in I to the 3rd in your calculator. You'll find out it's -I. Plus 5xi, that's just an I, so just leave it. And then plus 7y, I to the 7th is -I. Let's clean this up a bit. This gets you -8x because a -1 times 8x is -8x. This will get you -3yi because that negative is going to pull to the front here. Plus 5xi, and then again a -7yi. Combining like terms, these guys are the only ones that can combine. So I'm going to end up with -8x plus 5xi minus 10yi. And there you go. That's a little sloppy at the end. Let's fix that up. Aye, Captain. All right. Moving on. This question here says use the formula pH equals negative log H plus, where H plus is the concentration of hydrogen ions of the solution. Calculate the pH of lemon juice, which has this pH H plus level. Please round your answer to the nearest tenth. All you have to do is put this into the equation, not with the m, sorry, just the numbers, the scientific notation into here. So it's going to be pH is equivalent to negative log of 5, and we're loading, hold on. A little bit of a lag there. Hold on. Log 5.0 times 10 to the -3. You just have to type this into your calculator. Literally press the button negative log and 5.0 times 10 to the -3. You'll find a pH level of, rounding to the nearest tenth, which is 2 places, 2.3. Next one, solve for x. Best way to start this one is to put this over 1 and find the common denominator. Well, this one definitely needs a 5 because the other one has a 5. This one needs both 5 and x. That will allow us to cross out all the bottoms and leave us with 5 equals 6 plus 5x. Solving for x, subtract the 6 over, and you're going to get -1 equals 5x. Dividing by 5, you'll get -1/5. If you check your answer, this does work. Just plug it in for x. If you replace x with -1/5, it does satisfy the equation. Next question. They want you to graph log 2x plus 3 minus 5 on the same axis of below, and they want you to use the appropriate scaling to include both intercepts. This means they want the x and the y intercept. Okay, so this one's a little bit tricky. When you graph it at first, you're not going to see the both intercepts. What you're going to have to do is make the x max. I found if you made it 30, the x max, you'll be able to see it. Also, this is nice because you can count by threes. So 3, 9, 3, 6, 9, wow. You can count by threes and scale appropriately. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, and 30. And then this is -3. This is also really good because if you look at the equation, -3 is actually the asymptote, because if you plug in -3 for x, you'll get 0. So that actually works out really nicely. Okay, so I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to go to y equals, and I'm going to type this in. So you're going to have to press math and get the log base, then type in the base of 2, plug this in, graph it, and look at your table to get as many points as possible. So the first point that I can see on my table, sorry, I'm not doing this on my Chromebook, you guys can't see my calculator, but I found that YouTube is easier for you guys to access. Everyone's going to be able to get this link. All right, so the first point I see is -3 is error, -2 is -5. So I'm going to kind of estimate here, -2, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I count that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -1 is -4. So about here. 1 is -3. So about here. 5 is -2. So about here. And then the next whole point doesn't happen until, oh wait, 13 is -1. What else do we got here? 13 is -1. Yeah, the next one is not 29 until 29, 0, which is the other intercept. And there you go. Just don't pass the asymptote, please. Arrows at the end of both of the graph. Make as many points as you can. If you can't find whole points, just estimate. Anyways, the asymptote is x equals -3. The domain is x is greater than -3, and the range is always going to be all reals. It's greater than -3 because if you look at the asymptote, the domain will only go to the right. The end behavior is as x goes to infinity, as x goes to the right, y goes to infinity. If you guys look at the graph, this is going up as it goes right. Okay, and then the left is really the tricky part. When you go to the left, you're not going to go all the way to -infinity, but you are going to approach this asymptote of -3 and go down at the same time. So you're going to write as x goes to -3, y goes to -infinity. The last thing is what's the series of transformations. If you look up here, inside the parentheses is a +3, so that means left 3. And if you look outside, it was a -5, so down 5 units. Okay. Next question says, Jim's parents gave him $6,000 to invest for his 18th birthday. He's considering 2 investment options. Option A will pay him 3.2% compounded annually, and option B will pay him 7.4% compounded biannually. The keyword here is compounded, and after that annually and biannually. This means we're going to be using this formula because this is the compound interest formula. P is your initial, 1 is 1, R is your rate, N is the amount of compounds per year, and T is your time. So we're going to do option A first, 6,000, 1 plus, actually both of these equations are going to be very similar, just slightly different. So first one has 0.032 compounded annually, which means 1 is your N, and then 1 times T is your exponent. And then you're going to have 0.074, and that's going to divide by 2 because biannually means 2 times a year is N. And then to the 2T. Now, this question is super duper finicky, I have to say, because they ask you to find an equation for both of them, but they say N years, meaning that they want you to use the letter N for T, which is super annoying because this formula already has N as the amount of compounds and T as time, but all you're going to do is you're going to just erase this and put the right letter in that they want, which is going to be N. Okay? So then they say Seth plans to earn, oh, this is supposed to be Jim. I guess Seth is on the test. All right, Jim plans to use the money after he graduates from college in 4 years to determine how much more money option B will earn than option A to the nearest cent. All you have to do is plug in 4 for B. So 6,000, 1 plus 0.032 to the 4th. You don't need the ones because they're not necessary. 1 plus 0.074 over 2 to the 2 times 2. Hopefully I did this right on here. Oh, 2 times 4. Where did I get 2 from? I guess because I saw the other 2. What just happened? Okay. You're going to type this into your calculator, and you're going to end up getting 2 numbers. This is going to get you $6,805.6567. And this is going to get you 8023.822 about. They want you to find how much more. So you're going to subtract these 2 and then find out that option B makes 1,218.17 cents more, rounding to the nearest cent is 2 decimal places. All right, last question is in simplest A plus BI form. If you look at the equation, it's a quadratic. Once you see this, A plus BI, and you see x squared, it's clear that you're going to use the quadratic formula. So that being said, you need to first make sure this is equal to 0. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get anywhere. So I'm going to cancel these guys out. 4x squared, 11 minus 3 is 8, plus 10. And we're going to use the quadratic formula, which is on your reference sheet, so no need to memorize it. It will be given to you, but I'll write it here so you guys can see it. A is 4, B is 8, and C is 10. Okay, so you're going to plug in. X equals -8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared. Use parentheses around this in case you have negatives on the test. Minus 4. A is 4 and C is 10. All over 2 times 4, which is A. Okay. You're going to have X equals -8 over 8, because 2 times 4. Now just type just this into your calculator, just the inside into your calculator, and you're going to end up getting, if I'm correct, which I should be, -96. Now you have to break this up. You got to figure out the factors of 96. Where one of them is perfect. It's 16 and 6. The square root of 16 is 4, and that negative is going to pull out as an I whenever you have a negative on the radical. That's why they're saying A plus BI form. -8 plus or minus, now it's going to be 4I square root of 6 all over 8. Remember to share the love, which means share the denominators to both terms. And you're going to just simplify. So this gets you -1 plus or minus 4 over 8 is 1/2. So I squared of 6 over 2 is fine, and that is what X equals. I hope this video helped you guys prep for your test. Please come to Directrix help if you need any more.